This is a warning from the future. Video games will rot your brain and cause the apocalypse.
Hello, and welcome to the very first episode of the Conversation Tree podcast. We're going to be talking about games and gaming culture, a little bit of films, events in and around London, and anywhere else we happen to wander to. We're looking to have a particular focus on narrative, character, how games reflect an impact on society. So while we won't be giving reviews and marks out of 10, that kind of thing, we'll certainly be discussing games very in-depth indeed. They don't really exist in cultural isolation, so that's why we're going to be looking at films and events and things like that as well, because they all impact on one another. We're going to be coming out fortnightly on a Sunday night, perfect for the Monday commute, and we're looking at an hour to an hour and a half or thereabouts for the length, but as this is the pilot, we'll see how we do. So you might have heard a little chuckle in the background there. Let me introduce my co-host first. Over to you.
No, you've jumped all out of order now. I'm Lydia Palmacy. Hello. I'm half of the narrative junkies that are forming this. A little bit about me.
Go on.
I work in advertising compliance, which means I vet ads before they go on TV and make sure they're legal and honest and truthful. And one of the things that I have particularly enjoyed doing is looking at video games before they go on TV and making sure they're in line with PEGI and that they're getting the right audience. And that's something that I'm really looking to expand upon, because I think video games are really important culturally and artistically, and I feel like they get a bad rap too much of the time. Some of that's down to mismarketing, I think.
Go on, as a preseat of your gaming credentials, what's your favourite game of all time ever?
It would either be... can I have three?
Go on.
Psychonauts, Fable 2, Dragon Age 3.
That's Inquisition?
Yes, that's Inquisition.
Okay, cool. And I suppose I'd better introduce myself. I'm Jonathan. I work in a very similar field as well. Advertising compliance, looking at scripts, all that kind of lovely stuff, and analysing what's really going on under the hood. I've been gaming for a very long time, starting with...
Pretty much your whole life.
Yeah, Dungeon Master on the Atari ST, something like that, if that helps pinpoint my age.
Oh, you name dropper.
I know. And primarily PS4 these days, but a bit of everything, really.
I started with Paperboy on Sega.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah, I can't top that.
Sucks to be me, then, I suppose.
And it's all been downhill from there.
So I think you can probably tell from the fact that we're called the Conversation Tree, we're very big on narrative games in particular.
And trees.
And trees, yeah. They're pretty nice. I haven't hugged a tree for a long time. But we're going to be talking about all kinds of games, but we are particular suckers for ones with dialogue trees and conversation trees in them. Who doesn't like those kinds of games, I ask you?
You've got to wonder. Sick people, I think.
There must be something wrong with them. So if you do want to head over to iTunes, this is going to be downloadable there, as will future episodes, and subscribe. You can also find us at the Conversation Tree podcast.wordpress.com.
That's true.
And on Twitter at the Convo Tree.
Mm-hmm.
And you can always give us an email if there's anything you'd like to talk to us about.
We'd love to hear, yeah.
Do email us at theconversationtree@gmail.com. So, without further ado, I think we should probably get into discussing some games and that.
Shall we?
Let's do it. So, should we start with Develop Brighton?
I think so, yeah. That's certainly been a big development recently. It was fun.
Tell me about it. What is Develop Brighton?
Right.
Like I don't know.
Well, Develop Brighton happened last week. I don't actually know who runs it, who it's organised by. I mean, Develop Conferences is a thing. So anyway, they went to Brighton. And it was a comparatively small floor-to-floor event, but had amazing speakers going on. And that lasted quite a while. Unfortunately, we didn't get to go to any of those talks.
So it's mainly about indie developers. It's kind of an industry thing as opposed to...
Yeah, we were on the floor doing the meet and greet and the networking and got to meet some up-and-coming developers, some very indie, some not as indie, because that's... terms getting redefined all the time now. But it was really great. I found it really inspiring and just a great vibe.
Yeah, it was the first time I'd really hung around games industry types.
Yeah, because we are game consumers, so most of our interpretation of games is coming from the viewer, the player, the consumer's point. So it was nice getting a glimpse behind the curtain.
Yeah, they all seem very friendly and really excited about what they make. I mean, it helps maybe that they're not kind of jaded and working for the AAA companies and slaves to the
that's
grindstone,
the dream.
Nose to the Dreamstone.
Nose to the Dreamstone. Oh.
That would have been a much better podcast.
That's my biography title right there.
So yeah, one of the games that we looked at there really early on, there were a number of stands from universities, people who are on gaming courses. That's much more of a thing now. I don't know when the first games course turned up at uni, but
that's a good question.
That long ago, kind of.
It is. I will say from uni courses, they are very much the science of gaming, the development and the design. There's not a lot happening on the interpretation and audience studies and psychology yet. That tends to be MA and PhD level. That's just interesting side note. Carry on.
I'm sure it'll be coming soon then. Let's hope.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe there isn't anything to talk about in that kind of thing in games, in which case this podcast is screwed.
Oh, well, let's just go play games then.
But yeah, so one of the most notable games, I think, that we played, there were a few that were really good. One of the most notable for me was a game I don't know the title of, which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
It's the first Shakespearean game that I've played, and that's why it was particularly notable to me. He's so prevalent in all other media, old Will, that in this, the year of 400 years after his
400,
death, maybe, whatever it is that we're celebrating, commemorating, commiserating.
Presumably birth. No, I don't know. I'm guessing.
Well, look it up and stick the facts on the podcast. You'd think we'd know, really, wouldn't you? Given that it's in the media everywhere.
When things get up to this age, centuries plus, it tends to just be, ooh, it's a celebration, and you don't break it down too much by if he was born, if it was first publication, if it was death. It's just, ooh, celebration of famous person now.
True. And talking of this particular celebration of famous people, I'm totally going to keep myself on track the whole way through this podcast.
We have a lot of time to fill. I think bring on the waffle.
I could go for waffles.
Yeah, always. That was some good waffling.
Yeah, so it was a lovely chap. His name is Tom Batty.
We got that much.
Indeed. So we've asked him for the name of the game, and hopefully he'll get back to us and let us know.
He is on, he does have his own website, Tom Batty. I think it's tombatty.com. And he's on Twitter, I believe. Again, it's at Tom Batty, Battey. So it looks like he's still in the process of updating with his game developments, but worth a look, browse over there.
Indeed. Now, what I've been wondering with Shakespeare and gamifying him is quite what aspect you would do, because the language is the big thing about Shakespeare. So it would be all well and good having a fairly standard traditional beat 'em up set in King Lear, let's say, but that would kind of lose all the fun of the language. What Tom's game did was using assets from the British Library, I think.
It was I just want to jump in there. It was in collaboration with the British Library, so I think they put up some of the funds and some of the publicity, although the bulk of it was to him. So he had some expert resources there to draw on, which is quite exciting. Yeah. Yay, British Library.
Yeah, that's always very nice when that kind of stuff happens, and particularly for indie developers and things, if you can get any kind of funding or any kind of material for free, brilliant. So it was set within Midsummer Night's Dream, and you were walking around in first person in a set that was sort of looked like it was paper cut kind of forest, and within this forest you would stumble upon characters. And you could cast love spells or deactivate love, effectively, on love spells or anti-love spells, and make the characters fall in or out of love with each other at different times, in which case the dialogue that they had would change slightly and different parts of the play would come in. So it was quite fun. Yeah,
it was really fun. It was near the end of the day, and the conference was getting quite loud at that point, so I couldn't hear as much of the game detail as I wanted, and also there was a queue forming behind me to play it, so I kind of had to rush on, but I did have a bit of a chat with Tom, who's a lovely guy, and I think I got the impression that he's looking to get the game into schools, amongst other things, and use it as a learning resource, so it's not necessarily like an RPG or even a Telltale kind of action-adventure. I think it is very much an introduction to the world of Shakespeare and his characters and the kinds of things that go on in his games, which as a learning tool just sounds amazing. I wish I'd had something like that. I just had to read the bloody books. What's the fun in that?
Yeesh, that's no fun.
There's words in them.
It did, it's just occurred to me, actually, another way of approaching a game about Shakespearean things. The Witcher 3, which I'm sure we will talk about a lot over the course of many podcasts. There's a wonderful mission or quest, quite a few actually, centred around a theatre. I wonder if there would be a more interesting game around Shakespeare's life as opposed to and kind of following Shakespeare around and putting on plays and that kind of thing, as opposed to
I think that sounds like the next Sims game.
Yeah, that would be quite good.
No, it would be terrible. What are you talking about?
I think it would be fine. Didn't you play Sims Medieval?
I did. I started Sims Medieval. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Well, I had a question.
Go on.
If that's okay.
Hit me up.
So you've been saying with Shakespeare it's all about the language, and he is synonymous for fancy pants words. But I wonder if it's not just because is he not his own genre? Romeo and Juliet. You say that it's a Romeo and Juliet romance, and people know what that is. Sans language. You hear Shakespearean tragedy all the time. You also hear Greek tragedy. We know that Greek tragedy and to a lesser extent Greek comedy are their own genres, and we can't quote them. Most people can't quote them. Stupid people. Well, smart, stupid people probably can quote them. So if you were to put a modern play on, this is very Edinburgh French, call it a Greek tragedy, people would know exactly what it's going to be like. And I wonder if Shakespeare's kind of become like that as well. If we can identify the tropes and the narrative fluctuations without the language. If so, how would games interpret that? The freedom of a Shakespearean genre without the language.
That would be interesting. I do wonder whether when you think of Shakespeare, people often say, "Oh, it was like a Shakespearean tragedy," rather than "Oh, it was like a Shakespeare play," possibly, because he did have, whether they're actually funny or not, comedies as well. So there were comedy plays, history plays, which did a bit of everything. Some of them have a lot of snoozing.
Audience and characters alike.
Yeah, so I think when people talk about Shakespeare, and it tends to be more the tragic stuff, doesn't it?
Well, it's the same with Greek, isn't it? We say Greek tragedy, and we know that, of course we know, there's plenty of Greek comedy. Is it the Lysistrata?
You tell me.
Oh, no. Moving swiftly on. There is a famous, I think it's a trio of comedies, which is about male warriors coming back from war and what the women have got up to while they were away, and hilarity ensues. And I think it's largely topless, so that might have just been a cultural choice.
And they wore giant phalluses, and so was that the Rome? I can't remember. Anyway, yeah, a game with giant phalluses. Let's do a game with giant phalluses. Oh, Saints Row. Yeah.
Saints Row.
Right.
Yeah, fine.
Done. That's the most Shakespearean game. You heard it here first.
So why is it that Greek tragedy and Shakespearean tragedy are easier to identify than the comedies? Is tragedy easier to write?
Maybe. A comedy is definitely harder to write.
Comedy is hard to write. Hard to, even if it's well written, it's then hard to reproduce, to perform.
Yeah, and speaking as a viewer and occasional performer of various Shakespeare plays,
I find you hilarious.
Yeah. Just to look at, not to talk to.
It's radio. He's very handsome, honest.
A lot of the jokes don't age well. So, I mean, a lot of references have aged well. A lot of references haven't aged well. It's less notable in the tragedies, where you can gloss over some allusion to something that no one really knows about anymore. Whereas in a comedy, if it's the central thrust of a speech with a massive joke in it that revolves around something that's fallen out of common usage or was politically notable at the time, it's harder to make that resonate with people.
Yeah, that's interesting. There's a whole PhD psychology topic there, is why is tragedy more universal and more timeless than comedy? Why is comedy more reliant on topical references?
Yeah. I might segue.
Oh, are you? Oh,
That was
okay.
a
I did
beautiful segue.
have. I might save it for another time. I did want to think about comedy video games and why there aren't more out-and-out funny games. But maybe let's save that for another time. Tune in next week.
I tell you what, there's a new Double Fine game coming out soon.
Yeah, well, that's exactly who I was thinking of.
Yeah.
They are kind of the pioneers of that.
So maybe let's
what's his
wait
name?
till that's out. Tim Schafer.
Tim Schafer, yeah, even before he was Double Fine per se, he was the go-to guy for funny games.
Yeah, so maybe when Headlander comes out, we'll have a play of that, laugh our heads off, hopefully.
Oh, how
no
lovely.
pressure. And then talk about comedy games. That'd be quite fun.
That's a plan. All right, moving swiftly on.
It's a beautiful segue. Now we've talked so much, I can't remember what it was.
Why?
Oh, it was timeless. Talking about things
Timeless.
being timeless. There we go. Talking of things being timeless, let's talk about something that's definitely not a fad. There was an awful lot of VR at Develop Brighton, and we both had our very, very first taste of VR. And it was all right.
It was all right in the way that 3D cinema's all right. if you like that sort of thing. Ooh, it's another way to tell the same story. Okay then.
Yeah, I think
early
that's
days still.
Do you mind if I talk about the game I played first?
I wanted to ask you about it. Go ahead.
Ooh. So I played. I think it's part of a trilogy or three. I think they're quite short games. So I played the London Heist Getaway, which is not a walking around game. It's a sitting down game. So I didn't even have to think about motion sickness, which was quite nice.
I was a little jealous, actually.
And the general setup is, you might have seen it, I think it's been used quite a lot as a showcase game. I'd seen a couple of brief Let's Plays on YouTube about it. And you are post bank robbery or something like that, sitting in a van in the passenger seat on the getaway, and lo and behold, some goons come and try and stop you, and you have to shoot them. Looking around, people are coming from the left, from in front, from behind, everywhere. You can look around. So it was fine. I felt immediately immersed in the graphics. That didn't put me off. It wasn't weird that it wasn't photorealism or something like that. I had a controller in each hand, and eventually I used one as the gun when you picked it up, and the other one to pick up ammunition and reload the gun. You had to make a kind of hand gesture, and it understood that, it was kind of putting the new clip in kind of gesture. That was quite nice and quite immersive. Overall, it did just feel a bit like a tarted up House of the Dead on Wii, or on the Wii console, I should say, not House of the Dead boredom. But those kinds of games, which have been around, in arcades for donkey's years, and with the light gun on the NES, it was kind of just, like House of the Dead, or Operation Wolf, or Duck Hunt, or something like that.
Oh, Duck Hunt! Oh, sorry.
So it was fine. It was very immersive in what it was doing. At the beginning, before any goons had turned up, I could pick things up in the van. So I picked up a drinks bottle and threw it at the driver to see what he'd do. I opened the passenger side door, and he told me to stop being such a muppet, or whatever. Hey, I was a goon. That's the kind of thing goons do, I think. So yeah, it
you
was
were like
fine.
Goon ride along.
Yeah. I was role playing as a goon. Obviously, I wouldn't do that kind of thing, but I wouldn't have robbed a bank in the first place. So
Wow, living another life.
Yeah. So yeah, that was my experience of VR. It was fine. You played a walking around game, though.
I played a walking around game. I just wanted to ask you a couple questions, though.
Oh yeah.
Which is, just occurred to me. So the sitting down that you was doing, was that atmospheric to emulate that you were sitting down in the car, or was that because the game was so intense and was operating all the way around you that if you'd stood up you might have fallen down, do you think?
Yeah, I may well have fallen down, actually. It was emulating the being in the car thing, although I turned the air conditioning on at one point, so it would have been nice if there'd been a fan in front of me that had been synced into it. But yeah, I would have been. I did look around very quickly at various times because motorbikes were coming up with geezers on them. So I think I could have fallen over quite easily had I been standing up. Oh, by the way, while I remember, we've got an Instagram account. It's linked to on our blog. So that's theconversationtreepodcast.wordpress.com, and there are a couple of images of us trying out the VR, so do have a look at that as well. It looks like I'm playing the maracas.
It's pretty cool, sci-fi
the neon
maracas.
Yeah. So how was the Standy Uppy game? What was the Standy Uppy game?
Well, it was Halo's inbred knockoff hillbilly younger cousin. It really wanted to be Halo, but it was. I mean, as a first-person shooter, it would have been quite dull. So it really was just about the experience and showing off the tech. And I wasn't overly impressed. The novelty of it was fun, but I really struggled to keep the visuals focused. And that was because I wear big stonking glasses. And the VR, I did chat briefly to the guy kind of hosting it, and he said that the little VR, the bits that fit over your face, they are specifically designed to go over glasses, so that shouldn't be a problem at all. But what it meant is that by the time I got I don't know what it's called, the bits that of the VR that are over your face, the mask?
The VRifier?
The VRifier. Once I got that smushed up close enough to my eyeballs so that the visuals were in focus, then my glasses would just kind of rearrange themselves and pop the VRifier back off my face. So I was constantly having to readjust it. It's a bit like if anyone does wear glasses and you go to a 3D film, you are constantly fiddling with those glasses over your glasses.
Right.
So it was very much like that. And I mean, these aren't RPG games. These aren't walking simulator games. They're fast and intense because they're really trying to show off the technology. So you don't really have time to constantly be pushing your glasses back up on your face like a nerd.
So what were you actually doing in the game? What did it look like and feel like?
Well, it was a kind of Mars-ish mountain landscape, and I was under attack by spider aliens, and I had a variety of weapons. I had a shotgun, a rifle, an assault rifle, and eventually I got grenades and a grenade launcher. So it was just moving through quite a monotonous Arizona-ish desert, shooting spider aliens as they dropped down in front of me with a couple mini boss battles, and a couple gear points where I could get new weapons and refresh my ammunition. So as an actual first-person shooter, it was a bit dull. And as an amazing new technology and way to tell a story, it was a bit awkward. And I didn't get motion sick per se. I probably would have if I'd played longer. I don't know how long I played. Maybe 5 minutes?
Yeah, sounds about right. There was a bit of a queue, so they were definitely trying to get through people. But
was it an Ubisoft stand?
No, it was Sony.
It was Sony.
Yeah, it was the... We should probably have said that. It was the Sony VR, their own stuff. So yeah, both the games are certainly being published by Sony. I can't remember if they are both developed by Sony as well.
Mine was developed by Impulse Gear. Brought to you by Impulse Gear.
Yeah, no, London Heist I think was developed by Sony as well.
Oh, okay.
All in-house.
Right, okay. So the guys running the stand were great and very friendly and informative, but I just thought the whole thing was a bit overrated. Well, it's not even overrated. There's not enough of it to be overrated yet. I'm worried it will be a flash in the pan. But on the other hand, maybe these games just need to find their feet. Maybe first-person shooters aren't the best.
Yeah, that's what example. I think is kind of key in that. Well, kind of if you look at 3D and film, and the reason for me that it doesn't really work is partially probably I'm just used to looking at 2D.
It's not realistic. Oh, this has always bugged me. There's no such thing as 3D vision. Carry on.
I'm seeing in 3D right now. It's amazing. It's coming right at me.
Oh, but it's not, because look, you're looking at me, and the thing behind me is out of focus. That's how it works.
But yeah, so the main thing is that my brain supplies 3D when I'm watching a 2D film.
Right.
So adding this weird 3D effect that kind of stops at the bottom of the frame doesn't really add anything. Like when I'm playing a game, if it's a good game, I will be immersed in it. If it's not a good game, I won't be. So I don't know. The VR does immerse you right in the action, but if that action isn't very interesting. I don't really know what it's bringing. I was thinking maybe walking simulators are kind of the ultimate thing for VR. If you made, just a space to wander around and admire and uncover a few hidden things in, I think that would probably be a better use than a Halo knockoff or something like that.
Yeah, I think so as well, actually. I think because doing something that's a little bit more sedate, a little bit more cerebral, doing that in VR might elevate that to a really standalone experience. Whereas when you're taking something which is already quite an intense experience, like a car getaway or battling alien spiders, and VR it, you just become aware of the gimmicks involved and that you're kind of stacking experiences on each other as opposed to really singling out one experience to make great.
Yeah. I kind of think VR might be the games industry's moment to get more embraced by the art world in a way.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah, kind of like there's a clear delineation by and large between films and video art. And, proper galleries have video art installations and exhibitions, and there are artists who work specifically in video art. And, there can be a bit of a fine line where you get some of the artsier directors, like Terrence Malick or someone like that. There's kind of a blending, I think, of video art and
Kenneth
film.
Anger.
Yeah, Kenneth Anger. I think he's aiming more for art. I don't know.
Who knows what he's aiming for?
Yeah. So I wonder if creating an immersive construct is something that would appeal to artists and the art world. It's probably already going on. I just haven't looked it up.
Sure.
But yeah, that kind of struck me that maybe this is the way for games to get a bit more highbrow appreciation, which Lord knows they deserve. Well,
to play devil's advocate, highbrow appreciation, what about porn? VR porn's been around a while.
I wouldn't know. Yeah, it has, yeah. I think porn is one of the big driving force. It's like war and porn are the two things that move technology forward. Yeah, kind of the internet.
Yeah, that's true, actually.
Very quickly was taken up by porn and digital ways of delivering things, and all those kinds of things have been. Porn has been well ahead of a number of industries, particularly, you look at the difficulties that traditional book publishing got into and the music industry got into, because they didn't adapt as quickly as the porn industry did. So we should all be looking to the porn industry for our advice, basically. That's what I'm saying.
It's weird, that.
Yeah. Is there anything else on VR? That's kind of...
Well, I just want to drop in a footnote to say that we are both, it seems, a bit down on VR, which might be speaking out our asses, because we're not games developers and we don't have our finger on the pulse of the industry. So I hope there's some really exciting new games and experiences coming out of VR. It's entirely possible that these were the conservative examples that we got. And, look, if Telltale got their hands on a VR game, I think I'd be in heaven.
Yeah, that would be brilliant. Yeah. Or CD Projekt Red or
oh
something
my
like
god,
that.
Now you're talking.
Yeah,
so I think maybe it's just a case of the examples that we had were the quick knockoffs, the things that fell off the conveyor belt.
Yeah. No, I'm not going to be negative. Yes,
Yay!
I hope you're right.
Let's hope it improves.
Yay!
Okay.
So we played quite a few games while we were down at Develop. What stood out for you?
I was really impressed by a guy named Matta Haggis who I chatted to. He was a lovely guy, and he was exhibiting a game that I suppose he developed himself, called Fragments of Him. And the developer and publisher is SassyBot, and I suspect Matta Haggis is SassyBot. Hope I'm not.
I think they're a small team.
They're a small team.
Yeah, because I had a chat with him as well. Yeah, I think very small team, like a handful of people. Count them on the fingers of one hand, I think.
Okay.
But it's definitely seemed to be his project. but with assistance.
That makes sense, because if it were a one-man band, that was a mighty impressive one-man band, I must say. So it would make sense that he had colleagues. It was intriguing at the time, and I finally got to play it just this morning, and it was really lovely.
Oh, what kind of...
thoroughly enjoyed it. So it's the closest thing that I've played is something like Gone Home, and it's a little bit of a stretch, but I think you could very loosely call it a walking simulator. And Matt Haggis did call it a theatrical game, I think was his phrasing, or something like a theater in game. So he was definitely going for kind of a thespian theatrical approach to game storytelling, which isn't entirely dissimilar to what walking simulators do. It's just that it was a slightly more involved walking simulator. So the premise is that a young man named William dies suddenly, and the three most influential people in his life begin to tell these fragmented memories of William from different points in his life. One is a girlfriend he had at college, another one is the partner he was with when he died, and the third character is his grandmother who essentially raised him. So you get kind of William through the ages, and you also get to be in William's head a little bit, and you kind of, in some scenes you're a fly on the wall, in other scenes you are that person remembering it, and in other scenes it almost feels like you're the ghost of William, kind of watching things unfold. And it's really touching and it looks more simplistic than it is. It actually has a lot of meat on its bones. And I wouldn't say it's a slow starter. I did start playing it and enjoyed it right away, but didn't feel hooked right away. But I was getting hooked quite quickly because you just care. They were lovely people to spend time with, which is...
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, it's really nice. It's really nice in any medium. It's especially nice in a video game, because video games, even if they're not action games, they're action heavy.
Yeah, it's quite rare, still unfortunately, that you do miss characters in games in the way that you sometimes do in books or in films or TV. Yeah,
and walking simulators are good and getting better about really using the time of a game to develop character. That seems to be largely, from the walking simulators I've played, what they do is character development in unusual situations.
Yeah, kind of usually wrapped around a mystery, but the mystery is usually character-based, as opposed to
that's it. Yeah, the mystery
or something.
Yeah, the mystery genre gives you the setting to then develop those characters and ravel and unravel those threads. So Fragments of him wasn't a mystery by any means, but it did have that kind of unpeeling of information in it.
I got to play the very beginning at Develop Brighton. I haven't played the rest of it, so I haven't played as much as you have. What I liked about it was there was a really nice attention to detail that went very well with the kind of slow pace. Just the example that really stuck in my mind was just, I think, coming out of his flat, or maybe just in his flat. I think I was the Will character at the beginning, possibly. There was a picture on the wall, and I stopped and looked at the picture, and it was a medieval style map. And
nice.
it
missed that.
Oh yeah, it's really nice. And just because it's a slow-paced game, and I knew that that the focus wasn't action, because Matt Haggis had chatted to me beforehand and kind of given me the précis. I knew that it was fine that these things had been put there intentionally. They weren't just, we need some art on the walls, we'll stick some things there. So that was really nice, because a few years ago I bought a book of medieval maps for my dad, so it inspired that memory triggered. Whereas if it had just been some generic picture that had been put up there because it's a wall that needs a picture on it because you're going to run through this bit and they don't just want a plain corridor while you're running and gunning.
Flintstones backgrounds, it just repeats every 30 seconds.
Yeah, and he said kind of afterwards, I talked to him about that it was, these things were specifically chosen. They weren't, the assets weren't repeated throughout.
Yeah, I did notice that it's on my mind because over the weekend I got a wonderful tattoo of the White Rabbit, this original Tennille illustration. Yay. And one of the characters in this has that same illustration on their wall. And I thought, oh, yay, I like you instantly. And then it wasn't a thing. They didn't talk about the illustration at any point, but it kind of kept turning up again, and you could tell that it wasn't redundant. It wasn't that they'd gone to the trouble to get that artwork, so they had to keep using it. It was important to that character. The White Rabbit represented something to that character, and so this picture moved around with them during their life. And it was not only a great attention to detail, but it gave off a lot of atmosphere and a lot of character development. That's a good example of how it's a bit like theatre, because these little details stack up, and there's narratives within narratives.
Yeah, that is nice. It kind of reminded me, pacing-wise, I've played a few walking simulators in my time, let me tell you. But it did remind me in tone, as well as pacing, of Everybody's Gone to the Rapture just a little bit.
Yeah, I agree.
I really loved. And again, that does a similar thing. It did this the other way round for me, just the other day. Having grown up in small town England, Everybody's Gone to the Rapture, which you're probably aware of. If you're not, it's a game where it's a walking simulator, so-called, where you're walking around an English village and wondering why nobody is there, and uncovering the mystery of what's gone on there. For me, you find out the mystery fairly early on and enjoy discovering the backstories of everything that's gone. So when I was playing Everybody's Gone to the Rapture, a lot of things in it looked very familiar and rung true with my childhood. But I was just on the train the other day going to Southend-on-Sea to see my gran, and went through a station that looked exactly like a station you go through. And not just because they'd got the detail right, but the parking lot seemed to be in, it was exactly set up as this station was. It probably wasn't the inspiration for that particular station art style-wise. I'm sure there are lots of stations that look like that, but it was so uncannily similar to my memory of playing Everybody's Gone to the Rapture that it was it was a really nice kind of moment of things just spark in your brain and you go, oh, that's a bit like that, and
that's a nice feeling, isn't it? It's kind of a massage for the brain.
Yeah,
that's lovely. I thought of the games I've played, this reminded me most of Everybody's Gone to the Rapture in terms of kind of the melancholy and the poignancy. And I didn't get on with Everybody's Gone to the Rapture. I've said to you, it's like a season finale of Emmerdale where everybody gets abducted by aliens. I just thought it was peaceful.
I thought that too, but I enjoyed it.
You enjoyed it. I thought it was I couldn't get over. So everyone's being abducted by aliens, and this one bloody character just keeps ranting about how his sister stole his tractor. Just get on with it. Prioritize people. Anyway.
Should probably say spoilers somewhere in this, but it becomes apparent fairly early on. And that's not quite what happens, don't worry.
Sorry, yeah. Well, to spin the spoiler a little bit more, we'll warn that at the beginning, I think. It's ambiguous. That was my interpretation.
Good save, yeah.
Yeah. So, no, I didn't finish it, so... where I got to in the game, Everybody's Gone to the Rapture, aliens still felt ambiguous. So no, Fragments of Him was very poignant and really touching, and like I say, deceptively simple. And a lot of people, I've been reading about it online. A lot of people refer to it in terms of grief games. I'm inventing a subgenre called grief games, where games, aspects of games, whatever that aspect might be, can help people get through a grieving stage in their life. And Fragments of Him certainly has a lot of that in. I mean, the three characters that you witness are grieving for William. And there's a really nice article by a person named Allegra Frank, which is on Polygon. The article's called, it's an opinion piece called Fragments of Him Offered Me Catharsis After the Shock of Losing Someone by Allegra Frank. So if you're at all interested in this subject or interested in Fragments of Him, take a look at that on Polygon. I didn't think there were any spoilers in it. I don't know that it's a spoilerific game because it's not a crazy action game. It's just very sensitive. I don't mean that to be trite. at all. It's a game about emotions and feelings. But even more than the angle of grief, I was really struck by the angles of identity and how identity is formed as generations change, because you do get so there's a young man, there's a young woman, and there's an older woman, and they're talking about identity and gender development. And I do mean development because it's not set in stone for a lot of people. And I thought this game really offered some interesting and moving stuff on that without being opinionated, without being judgmental in any way. One of the characters uses the word normal quite a lot. What is normal? What is not normal? When it's good to be normal. And they do it without being wrong for trying to define things as normal and abnormal. And I thought that was really well crafted. And that was moving. That brought a tear to my eye. The grief elements, I'm fortunate enough that I'm not grieving. I've not lost anyone close to me. So I think that was a trigger that did not get triggered.
I should say it's 2016. Anything could bloody happen.
Oh, well, yeah. Terry Pratchett, hello. Goodbye. But no, and the way identity comes and goes, and moreover, I suppose grief is almost covered by an umbrella of loss and change in life. It's grieving to lose someone. I mean, that's what we say. We lose someone. Loss presents itself in many forms, and there's many ways to lose someone. Death is one of those. And that's what this game, to me, is looking at. The ways that things change, sometimes for the good, sometimes not. But change never just affects one person.
Yeah, it's kind of a ripple effect that kind of spirals out.
Yeah, and I think it's just wonderful that games are giving people the intimacy and the privacy to have these little cathartic moments that you don't get. I don't think you get them from film, because I think film is so dogmatic. Film is about something that's already been completed, and you can't interact with it. It's done, and it's showing you. And if a film resonates with you, well, hey, you go away and you try to find someone who also loved that film so you can talk about it and you can spread that catharsis a little bit. And if a film doesn't resonate with you, you don't buy the DVD and you move on. Books, I think, in terms of catharsis, come closer to games. But for me, there's nothing like a game to just let you sit down with what feels like a friend and experience something. Sometimes just a bit of fun, sometimes something really emotional, without judgment, because I'm not talking about multi-online games. And then that moment concludes, and you go on about your life, having had that safe moment to experience something. That's why I love games.
Aww.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah.
See, they're okay. They're not all just about shooting people.
No, I get so annoyed when people tell me things like games are making everyone psychotic. It's just, first of all, it's not how it works. And second of all, the games that have the running and gunning in them are such a small proportion compared to what's available out there. It's just pure ignorance to try to think games are evil and simplistic.
Yeah, they're not just about shooting people, they're about capturing wild animals and keeping them in a ball as well. Yay!
Woo, what more could you want?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think as games get emotionally more sophisticated, as people like us who grew up playing them in arcades and on Segas get into our 30s and 40s and are making these things, they are often becoming less game-like. They are more...
Yeah, kind of as people who have lived a little longer make them.
Yeah.
Maybe there's more life experience coming into them. More games. Well, there's a glut, I think, at the moment of games about to come out with fathers and daughters, I think, in particular. So I wonder if there's a particular generation of game developers who all came into the industry at about the same time and have all risen to the point where they're now in charge of companies or in charge of developing one particular game, the director or whatever it may be, and And yeah, so suddenly there's going to be a lot of parental issues.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me at all.
Or it could be that one had that in. Last of Us had that in really well, and everyone went, "That sold really well. Let's stick it in our game." Hopefully, it's more the former than the latter, but you never know.
Yeah. But we're also hearing a lot from indie games developers who have used not just gaming, but the process of building a game to work through issues in their lives. It's that wonderful game about a man who suffered from a never-ending nightmare.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's just a wonderful example of games being created as catharsis and played as catharsis. And the particular issue that this developer, I don't remember his name, the game's called Neverending Nightmare. It's out.
It's available on Steam. I don't think it's on consoles.
Yeah, it's so his issue, if you like, with bunny ears around it, was depression and what depression felt like for him. So he created this game as an expression to try to tell people what he felt. And it's not only really interesting as a quote-unquote game, but as a way to see into someone's head. I think it's really valuable.
It is. It also looks fantastic. It's a third-person, side-scrolling game, but the art is in the style of Edward Gorey. So these really kind of macabre line drawings. It looks fantastic, and yeah, it's really good fun to play as well.
Yeah, I highly recommend that. It's interesting. It is ostensibly a horror game. So it's possible noses could get bent out of shape about equating depression and to extrapolate depression, mental health issues with horror. But I gotta say, to each their own. And this is a very honest, sincere, important little game. And it's not patronizing. It's not using scare tactics. Well, it does use scare tactics to tell the story, but it doesn't use scare tactics to represent depression per se. But this was horror genre was the medium he could relate to. So that's interesting.
I just finished the game Brothers, A Tale of Two Sons.
Yeah.
That kind of reminds me of that in a way. That it's kind of taken the opposite tack. Because I played the first... it's quite an old game. If you may well be aware of it. I think it got quite popular. Brothers, A Tale of Two Sons, 2013, as you say, by Starbury Studios. And you control two brothers who are on a quest to save their father. They have to travel to a far-off place to get a mystical ingredient to bring back, and that will save their father's life. They are both grieving for the loss of their mother, which the younger of the two brothers blames himself for her death. He was unable to save her from drowning.
This isn't a spoiler, it opens with this.
Yeah. And you control each of them, one with each thumbstick, so it takes a while to get used to the controls. But as I say, I played the first sort of 20 minutes a couple of years ago and wasn't really particularly excited by it. It was, it's kind of it's kind of third person with the two people. It's kind of felt like a bit of a light puzzly game, but the puzzles didn't really feel particularly puzzly. I'm not massive on puzzle games anyway, but this one, they didn't really feel like puzzles. They were kind of de facto puzzles who, you didn't really have to think too hard about them. Maybe because it was the opening, I don't know. But it had a very nice art style, this kind of sun-dappled, just slightly cartoonish, kind of think maybe Fable-ish style.
I think that's how we found it, actually, because we'd finished Fable and this might have popped up in a recommendations or something, because it does look a little bit like Fable. You could believe it's the world of Fable. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. So in the first 20 minutes were fine. It was sun-dappled. There was this little village that you were wandering through. You could create a little bit of mischief. That was about it, really. I kind of, I thought, this is all right. I might play it again. Yeah. I don't know. And then
3 years went by.
That's it. On your recommendation, I actually picked it up and finished it just the other day. And it's really interesting.
Yeah.
It takes a very... I don't know whether it's a sudden turn or a kind of... halfway through, a third of the way through, you're suddenly not really in this sun-dappled village anymore. Things start to get a bit weirder. It's a slightly fantastical realm. Again, these aren't spoilers. This is Jonathan from the future. Please ignore Jonathan from the past, or I suppose Jonathan from the present, because there are spoilers coming up. So if you want to be spoiler-free for Brothers, A Tale of Two Sons, please skip to 1 hour, 2 minutes, and 30 seconds. That's 1 hour, 2 minutes, and 30 seconds. Cheers. So there are a few fantastical creatures about, and you have some fairly ordinary interactions with some trolls, and then all of a sudden it's nighttime and there are weird things around, and then suddenly you're going through this landscape where there's been a huge war, a huge battle that's involved these mystical creatures, and there are corpses everywhere, and it suddenly gets very weird, and very dark.
It sort of ceases to be cutesy fantasy folklore and becomes creepy fairy tale.
Yeah, and it's kind of, because you start in that, unlike in Neverending Nightmares, just to kind of link it back to that, where that kind of starts from the off with this art style that's kind of slightly horror inclined anyway, and very quickly there are dark things going on, because this started kind of, although you were on a quest to save your dad's life, and so you were emotionally engaged with it, because the mood visually was quite sunny and optimistic, you kind of lulled into a full sense of security.
Yes.
And then, because suddenly you're aware that, hang on, I've been going through this landscape, this is kind of weird, I'm not sure about this, in a good way. It's a very, very interesting game.
There's one point where you're traversing the countryside and you're really in the boonies. There's no civilization around, so playing as a little human character, you don't really know who your friends are, so to speak. And there's this monster that turns up, and my first reaction was, oh, well, this monster looks like something that exists in nature. It'll be my friend. And I barely avoided getting eaten by it as it became increasingly monstrous, which was just wonderful surprise and very atmospheric and very engaging. Yeah, it really caught me off guard.
Yeah, for a while, it's not really a spoiler. If you haven't played it and you want to go in with no more knowledge than we've already given to you, then maybe skip ahead a little bit. I might come back in and drop in the time code for you to go to. But you're suddenly going through an area where everything's bigger than you, so it's like a land that's inhabited by giants almost, this area.
We're doing spoilers for this?
Just slight spoilers, yeah.
I wanted to ask you a very specific spoiler.
Okay, well, let's do proper spoilers in that case. So if you haven't played it, we'll tell you what time to go ahead to. So you're going through this area. Oh, I can say anything about it now. Brilliant.
Yeah, okay. We're doing the spoiler now. All right.
So you're going through this landscape with all these dead giants in it that have been in this massive battle, and you have to, one of the puzzles involves having to manipulate the corpse of one to chop off the arm of another so that it goes out the way and you can get through. And then you're going in this big room, you go up this tower, and it wasn't really apparent to me from the outside that this was a giant's residence, but as soon as you get into the room, you are aware, and you're climbing up on books to get up onto the bed and go around. And something about that feeling of having thought you were normal size in a game, and then for quite a long chunk of it, actually, you're not normal size, you're the small one. It felt quite threatening.
It suddenly made you think, well, what else is out there? Yeah. Oh, well, if we're doing spoilers, I want to talk about the tree things.
Oh, yeah.
As your, what's it called when you rock surf along the side of a cliff? I don't know. You're dangling and grabbing ropes and crawling along vertically. And little tree things start jutting out of the rock. And I think, oh, yay, trees are good. Trees are my friend. And I started shimmying up the rope towards one, and all of a sudden it grew sort of a grumpy face and grabby hands and tried to eat me. And fortunately, the game designers had obviously expected someone to go, oh, trees are my friend. And so they timed it really well. So it was just before it could grab me when I suddenly had this moment of terror. No! Shimmied back down my rope very quickly. But that was one of the highlights. It's just to remind you how delicate we are, how dangerous it all is.
It doesn't quite get into that the limbo territory where kind of they've designed it so that you will die repeatedly along the way because the traps are pretty much impossible to spot if you don't know what you're looking for. But there's certainly some similarities in a way.
Yeah, I think if you like Limbo, you'd enjoy this.
Did you had a spoilerific question for me?
Oh, my spoilerific question. Oh, this is such a massive spoiler. I even feel weird talking about it while we're in a spoiler section. But the older brother,
was a ghost all along.
Yeah,
no,
Ram. Yeah. Naya. I want to say Naya is the older.
Yeah, I think they're called Naya and Nai.
Yeah, just to confuse matters. He dies.
Yeah.
Which I did not see coming. And was quite a blow, and just so cleverly, you can't use that side of the controller anymore. That was his side. He's gone.
Yeah.
And then you feel so clunky having to just rely on your right hand to control Nai, the younger brother, and then suddenly there's things that you can't do because you've been, it's a co-op game, although you're only one player. I wanted to ask if that felt gimmicky to you, or if you think they achieved what they were so obviously trying to achieve with that.
I think they achieved what they tried to carry on the spoilers.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to come back to the section where he actually dies, but once you then get back to where the father is, the last obstacle is water. And for ages I was kind of wandering back and forth going, I don't know, I can't get past, what can I do? I can't do this. Because just to recap, if
can't remember.
If you're listening to this despite not having played it, so enjoying the spoilers anyway, the younger brother is scared of water because of his mother drowning, so when the brothers have to go through water, the older brother swims, the younger brother climbs on his back basically and hangs on to him.
Mm-hmm.
So you're just the younger brother at the end, and you can't cross this water, and you've just got the right hand side of the controller and nothing's working, and then I pressed in the left trigger, which previously was the button for the older brother to do something, and lo and behold, he can swim across. That's a really lovely way of this character learning how to do something, and it having been passed from the older brother down.
And just
really
just the sense of that you can be complete on your own, but it takes time.
Yeah,
it's really poignant.
There was, thinking back to Fragments of him again, both in that and Brothers, there was one kind of the things that I really liked in what was needed from the player and what wasn't, which I'll explain a bit more because that doesn't make a lot of sense. But in Fragments of him, there was, just in the demo bit that I played, you had to get into your car and drive off, and in a lot of games, even more atmospheric than actiony ones, that would be quite a simple task. But before driving off, I had to check mirrors, I had to do there were kind of about 7 or 8 different checks and things that I had to do before it could drive off, which it gives it weight. It kind of lends it a significance in a way. You're thinking, why is it making me do this? What does it bring to my life?
You feel responsible in that moment.
Yeah.
That you are making decisions that will affect the character. Do you choose to adjust the mirrors, etc.?
But in Brothers, the thing that was similar to that in a way, or elicited a similar feeling, was after the older brother died, when the younger brother buries him, you as the player bury him.
Oh yeah, that was hardcore.
Yeah, there have been a few kind of little brief cutscenes where things had happened, so they could have done it in that, but they didn't. you had to physically go over to the brother, pick him up, and drag him across and into the grave, and then put the earth on. And yeah, just the fact that they made that a part of the player interaction.
Yes, it wasn't a cutscene.
Yeah, because there's so much death in games. In the running and gunning ones as well as the thinky abouty ones. Thinky abouty games. That's the new genre. There's kind of, well, just as there is in film and in novels as well. There's death is a big thing used for dramatic purposes. So use the most extreme thing to elicit a strong reaction. But often, it's glossed over, even when it's dealt with more seriously. Things are glossed over. But yeah, just the act of having to physically go through this rather than having it in a cutscene or, whatever it may be, or simplifying that was really powerful.
I was so conscious going through the steps that you have to do to bury your brother, thinking, I don't want to do this. This is hard. This hurts. I don't want to have to keep doing this. And then you'd have to dig a hole, and then you'd have to put him in it, and the act of putting him in it is really unromantic. It's hard work for your character. You can hear the little boy grunting and heaving to move this body. It's very, well, I can't say realistic because I've never had to physically do that, but I think it lends a sincerity to it that is lacking from most media these days. We're really, this isn't new information by any means, but we're getting increasingly removed from the reality of death, both the inevitability and the messiness of it. And again, to go back to what I was saying earlier about how important games are, it seems like games are kind of reminding us of this in a really helpful, safe space.
Yeah, it's nice to see and be able to give examples of games doing what it is that we've kind of all said all along that they do, allowing you to experience these things or to work through these things or whatever it may be, with and shed the image that they have to a degree, that it's all just running around shooting. Don't get me wrong, I do still like the running around shooting games.
Absolutely. Well, never overrate the importance of escapism. That's what sleep is. A lot of people think we don't really know what escapism is, but to some extent it's a chance for the body to just shut down and do something else for 7-8 hours. So escapism's valuable. Yeah. Games are valuable. There's a really nice, vlog, video article about brothers and grief, which we've hijacked slightly, or at least got the idea from, called Low Batteries by Johnny Chiodini, sorry, of Eurogamer.
He doesn't have an Italian accent.
No, he has very dulcet tones. But if you look up on YouTube Low Batteries Eurogamer, I think it's episode 6 or something like that, and it's called Low Batteries Grief. Maybe that's just what I've called it. Brothers. He describes Low Batteries, a series about mental health and gaming. And it's definitely worth listening to. Very good stuff on there.
Yeah. I think there are 6 episodes at the moment, and they're all very interesting.
We need more. Yeah.
Get to it, Johnny.
Oh, yeah, he's great. So, we've talked a bit about grief and identity in games. So, if you add into that teenage angst, I think you have Life is Strange, our next topic.
Yes, you do. Life is Strange is a strange one. It's quite handily. At the very beginning of this, I asked you your favourite game, and you gave me your 3 favourite games. You didn't ask me mine, which is very nice. We'll save that for another occasion.
Hey, Johnny,
because
you sure?
Fine. I don't know whether Life is Strange would be on there or not. It's
right, yeah.
It's high up the list. It's a game that I have thought about since finishing more than pretty much any other game. It's the emotional resonance of it and the topics it goes into and the way it deals with them is pretty much unlike any other game that I've played. There might be sort of twine games like text adventures and things that go into a lot of the same things. I'm sure there are plenty of indie games that you can track down, maybe, that go into the same things. But for a game released, I think it was published. I don't know if it was published and developed by Square Enix. So really big publisher.
Mm-hmm.
It was just really interesting to go into a lot of issues in depth that you don't go into anymore. If you don't know Life is Strange, I realise I'm wittering on about it and you may have no idea what I'm talking about. It's a third-person game where you, as the player, are a girl called Max Caulfield, who's at university. College? University?
I think it's a preppy high school. I think she's 18. She's not quite in uni. But that's kind of beside the point.
It's kind of focuses on the mundane in a lot of ways to start with, and throughout. She's taking a photography course, and the kind of centre of the game is her catching up with an old friend that she had lost touch with. But running parallel to that, there's she has these weird visions of an impending calamity and gets very minor time control powers, so she can rewind time just slightly. And it all plays out in kind of any way you want it to. There are a lot of points where you have to make a choice, kind of like Telltale games. If you've played those, you have to make a choice. Do you save someone or not? Or do you rewind time to get someone out of the way of a ball being thrown at them? Or do you not?
Are you honest or do you lie?
Yeah. And, if you make some dialogue decisions, you might find something out. You could rewind and go back, use that information you've gleaned from doing it the wrong way to do it the right way. Is that manipulative? Is that fine? Are you doing it for the right reasons? These are things you have to ask yourself, really.
Yeah, and the game's very good. I mean, there are subplots in the game about, am I is it morally conscionable or not?
Yeah. The other reason, Life is Strange got fairly good reviews. Certainly, it was. It ended up on a lot of best games of the year last year lists, and quite rightly so. But the big caveat that everyone always puts into that is the dialogue, which is in some places really quite ripe.
It's eccentric.
Yes, it is.
Oh dear.
There are a few things about the dialogue. The main one is that this is a game focused on teenagers, and they've really written some teen dialogue.
Oh, hella teen dialogue.
There's a lot of slang in there that I don't know if that's stuff that they picked up from real teenagers. I don't know whether that was stuff they thought teenagers did or what, but it doesn't really sound like what proper teenagers do.
No, it's parts of it are kind of cringeworthy.
Yeah, I mean, some of the dialogue is clunky in terms of how it's written, as well as kind of.
Well, English isn't their first language, so they're a French company, aren't they? Don't Nod.
Yes.
Yeah. Are they French Canadian?
French. Yeah.
And so did they write?
Oh yes, that's right. It was developed by Don't Nod, published by Square Enix.
Yeah. So did they write it in English? Or has it been localized? I think
written in
wrote
English.
It in English.
It's set in Oregon,
yeah,
in America, so you would assume it was written in English.
Yeah,
but I don't know. What's your favourite line?
Oh, I have two.
Oh yeah, go on.
My work here is done here.
Oh yeah.
And we have all the time in the world. For now. It's just, oh God, how can you not hear how wrong that is?
But yeah, to turn back to the kind of the teen dialogue for a second, kind of the use of hella and man, we're down in the mosh pit, shaka bra, or whatever. I don't know, whatever it is, whatever shaka bra means.
No.
I did wonder whether, because teen dialogue, it can be tricky. I think that, you can go really over the top with it if you're trying to out and out go teen. So I wonder whether there was a degree to which they were trying to create their own teen language in the way that Joss Whedon did in Buffy.
Oh, yeah, that was good.
I can't remember who wrote it. Clueless.
I was going to ask if you know the story about the dialogue in Clueless.
Oh, no, I don't.
I don't know how true this is, but I was told this by people who loved Clueless at the time, that it apparently was quite a breakthrough for teen dialogue. And it captured not only kind of teen rhythms and garbage, but particular phrases and expressions that were really, really specific, like right down to the high schools that kind of, as a mishmash, the game was set in. And so the film the film was set in. So yeah, highly specific and accurate, believe it or not, dialogue. And the story is that the script writers actually sent spies out to do guest student roles in these high schools and note down phrases and then report back to the writers so that they knew what the hell they were talking about.
So all the stuff about Bettys and Baldwins and all that kind of thing, I thought they'd made that up, and that was like they'd created this.
They might have done. They might have, but there was I can't even remember now. There was other phrases that I think I was in Oregon at the time, which is next to California, so some news filtered up to us, and I was a teenager. But yeah, it was in the news for high school students going, no way, this is code. How did the film know that we talk like this?
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I've been playing a couple of other games recently as well that involve teenagers and so have teen-style dialogue. And it's kind of been interesting comparing them. I've actually put a YouTube video up on our YouTube channel. We do have a YouTube channel, which is... I'll put a link on our blog post about this, but it's probably youtube.com/The Conversation Tree or The Conversation Tree Podcast, but I'll put a link in there so you'll be able to find it, which has a bit of a clip from 3 games, Gone Home and Oxenfree and Life is Strange. And it's really interesting comparing them. I mean, Gone Home is slightly different in a way because you're getting fragments of someone's journal that they narrate to you.
Yeah, so it's not conversational.
No.
Also, you might be coming to this anyway, Gone Home's set in 1995, so the writers are drawing on their memories and their knowledge of what idiots they sounded like at the time.
That's true, that's a good cheat. Huh. Interesting. Yeah, if in doubt, set your teenage game when you were a teenager.
Yeah.
And Oxenfree is... It looks like it's worth a go. I haven't finished it yet. It's published and developed by a company called Night School Studio, and it's a game about some teenagers who are doing this ritual that happens at the end of every school year, kind of the graduating class or whoever go to this island where they just all get drunk and have a great time, like spring break type stuff.
Are there going to be spoilers in this? I haven't played it yet.
No, there aren't.
Okay.
No, I'll just do the basic setup. But in this particular year, only 5 people go, and then they stumble into some spooky stuff. So it's a bit of a sort of a scary game. I haven't found it that scary so far because you're very far away from the action. It's kind of flat 2D backgrounds almost, and then 3D characters who are kind of walking around. You control the same girl all the time. Most of the interaction is dialogue, which is kind of why I was really excited to play it. So yeah, it's just kind of about talking to people and discussing stuff along the way. So there's an awful lot of dialogue in it. And it doesn't feel that teeny to me. I don't know, I would put them, kind of in the mid-20s or something like that. And I've kind of been trying to wonder why that is. I think what Life is Strange and Gone Home really nailed... Life is Strange definitely didn't nail it in terms of the specific dialogue, but in terms of the choices that the characters make and the kind of what the characters are doing and how they go about what they're doing, it was very teenagey, kind of what they're going through.
Yeah.
There are a lot of...
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, a lot of sort of coming-of-age themes.
The sensation.
Yeah.
The sensation of it felt like that.
Yeah.
And it's kind of... I mean, it does what all so-called genres, like sci-fi and fantasy and horror genres, do, which is use hyper unreality to convincingly portray something which is actually quite sensitive and quite real. So in this one, by setting her world in a sci-fi environment, you got a real sense of the drama and the sense of time escaping, and the loneliness, being the only one that has this problem and no one quite understands. And that, by making it so hyper real in the game, they really tapped into what it felt like to be a perfectly normal teenager, unfortunately. Yeah, kind of both Gone Home and Life is Strange did make me kind of nostalgic for being a teenager, but also really relieved that I was no longer a teenager in ways that I don't recall any other games doing. Played quite a few games with teenagers in recently, so Oxenfree as well, Until Dawn, really enjoyed. The focus on that wasn't the teenaginess of them, whereas Life is Strange and Gone Home to a degree, I think, are more specifically trying to evoke that. But yeah, it's just a very interesting sensation, and really good to see how you can do that even with clunky dialogue. Yes.
I thought that would, in kind of any other game, that would be such a distraction.
It was bizarre. It ended up... Because like Brothers, I started playing Life is Strange when it came out because it was getting good reviews, and I just couldn't get into it. I thought it was clunky, I thought it was silly, I thought it was dull. I didn't get it. And you persevered. I don't know why, if it was a review that made you come back to it or just curiosity. So. And on your recommendation, I then came back to it and restarted. And talk about your slow burners. It took me half the whole game to get it. I did not enjoy the first half, which is really unfortunate because I'd still highly recommend everyone playing it. But wow, stick with it, people.
Yeah. The first episode is free, I think, at the moment. I think on all platforms. But I don't want to say don't play the first episode as a taster of it, but it's you may really love the first episode. I don't know. But at the end of the first episode, I wasn't necessarily hooked still. It did take longer. And I think it's just absolutely worth sticking with. Yeah,
I agree. Because the stuff that kind of puts, or at least the stuff that put me off in the first episode, irritated me in the second episode, I thought was funny as hell in the third episode, and by episodes, was it 5 or 6?
5.
In episodes 4 and 5, I kind of fell in love with it, and it felt like eccentricities as opposed to stupidities.
Yeah.
It felt like the little quirks that made this game my friend, as opposed to things that were getting in the way.
Yeah.
So and it's not just a case of getting used to it, it's also a case of the game finding its rhythm, and its plot picking up, and its characters really starting to develop. And as you warm to the characters, you warm to their stupid speech habits.
Yeah. Talk about missing characters. I think they're the characters that I miss most in having played a game. Do want to hang out with them more. Yeah. Again, they all irritated me to start with, and by the end, they're people I want to know. I like them. What about Gone Home? As characters and writing? Yeah, it's an interesting one because you get a little bit of the sense of the character that you're playing just from kind of how you're talked about. All you really get are these audio diaries. Occasionally you find other bits and pieces around the house. So Gone Home, if you don't know, it's been around for a while. And
has it?
Again,
it came out this year.
No, I think it only came out on console this year. It's been around on PC for a few.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Okay.
And yeah, again, it's been very well received, so it's been played fairly widely, I think.
Yeah.
You are a college girl, I think, just coming home after being off touring the world for a little bit, on a gap year,
for
maybe,
quite a while,
like
for a year,
Yeah.
and the fact that she's been away a year is quite important, I think. So bear it in mind.
And you come home, your family has actually moved in the interim, so you're coming back to a house that you don't know.
Town you don't know.
Indeed, in the middle of the night, and no one is home. And you wander around the house trying to work out where people are, why they're not there.
And also what they've been up to in the last year.
Yeah.
Because, as it's been kind of a traditional gap year, you've been travelling around, so while you've sent postcards home, and you occasionally, as the player, find the postcards you've sent, which is kind of nice and grounds you, your family hasn't been able to update you. So you don't know what they've been up to.
It's
quite
we said earlier,
unsettling.
It's set in 1995, so...
No email.
Yeah, that's it. Before all that kind of stuff, and it was a lot easier to. It's now a lot easier to keep in contact, of course.
Well, if you're good at that sort of thing.
Yeah, it depends on your roaming charges, I suppose. But yeah, I think it is easier with writing journal entries than dialogue, perhaps, to nail it. But again, the sense of the character that you get through these journals, to a degree, the character that you're playing, the older sister, is maybe discovering for the first time because she's been away for a very important year in the development of her younger sister. It seems like the younger sister has changed a fair bit over this time.
As you do when you're that age.
Yeah, absolutely.
Every year when you're a teenager is mammoth.
Yeah, but the sense of this teenager developing and the decisions that she's made in this time, and the kind of the predicament that she's perhaps found herself in, are very realistic. They're very teenage. And I don't mean that in a disparaging way. I mean that they've kind of accurately nailed that point in time in someone's life. And yeah, really resonant.
Yeah, very touching. Very believable. Quite naturalistic, to its credit.
Yeah, I'm not even going to try and get into spoiler territory.
Yeah,
here.
let's not. It's.
But yeah,
it's newish anyway.
it's a lot of it is about what's going on in your head as the player.
Yes,
and what you
bring to the game.
Yeah, what you think is going on at various points.
And shall we go here? I thought. Ooh, spoilers. Ooh.
No, let's not go there.
Let's not go there?
Yeah.
Can I say I at least found it really creepy?
Yes, yeah.
I found it really creepy.
Oh, God, yeah.
Oh, wow, creepy.
And yeah, no one's in the house and all the lights are off.
Oh, my God.
And
there's a storm outside. Yeah. Oh, it's so creepy.
You can turn the lights on, so like the very first thing I did in every room was go around, turn all the lights on, go, right, okay, this is nice.
Yeah, okay, so avoiding spoilers for that, but it starts off creepy and then gets creepier.
Yeah.
And to give you an example of how creepy I found it. I mean, I don't know if this is the game specifically being reminiscent or if this is a genre trope which turns up or if it's just because it was on my mind. But there was one point in the game where it so reminded me of Slender Man. And the complete Slender Man game, not just the 8 pages, but the full game that starts off with you wandering into an abandoned house.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah.
I've only got a little bit into that. I was too scared.
Did you finish Slender Man?
No.
Oh, it's fantastic.
No, not remotely.
That has to... I think that's my favourite horror game.
Wow.
Yeah, and I do like horror games. And I think, Slender Man's done well for people that like horror games. It's a bit rough around the edges, which I think is why it's not a little bit more mainstream. But for me, it just hit all the right buttons, and I thought in some ways it was so original, and it did some genre conventions really well. It had the jump scares and other things that I just haven't seen done as well in other games, in other AAA games even, which is really impressive. There's the 8 pages section. I haven't played the original 8 pages, but the chapter in the extended Slender Man game that has the 8 pages in it is one of the highlights.
I don't think I got past that. I got to that bit. It's like the second chunk of it after the house, isn't it? I think.
Yeah, I think technically it might be the third chapter,
Okay.
but it kind of feels like it's the second chapter because you're in a new environment, so it feels like it's the second set.
Yeah. The second and final chapter of the
Oh,
game
Lord.
for me.
No, for me the best part was I don't think this is a spoiler. You go down into an abandoned mine. Of course you do.
Yeah, it makes total
Of
sense.
course you do. And it starts off quite conventional because you have to power up generators so that you can get to the next level. And the generators are loud and they're strung out and they're procedurally generated, so they're never in the same place, so you can't look up and cheat. And you just know what's going to happen. But then when it happens, Jesus H. Christ, a game has never got to me like that. And that's where I think it does so well by playing with the genre convention and then giving you something brand new. And it just... that's the closest I've come to a serious physical impairment in a game. There's a film... I do love horror in general, and there's a horror film which nearly made me faint when I watch it, which is called Tale of Two Sisters, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Not to be confused with Tale of Two Sons. Tale of Two Sisters, which is a South Korean horror film which plays on tropes of Western fairy tales. And there's a point in that when I started to pass out and I realized it's because I'd been holding my breath so long. And I've never watched it since, although it's excellent. And Slender Man, when you go into the mines, got pretty close to making me think, no, this is just, I'm going to have a heart attack.
Oh,
this
blimey.
is wrong, but wonderful.
I don't think I'm going to get any further in it.
Oh, I freaking love it.
Oh god, I'm stuck in so many horror games. So yeah, Soma, my character, is forever underwater.
Do you think you'll come back to Soma?
I hope so. I'm playing it on the PS4, and on the PC there's a mod that gets rid of the enemies, the monsters.
Oh, really?
And I
Wow.
would bloody love that, because I found it creepy as all hell.
Yeah.
Just the sound effects
Yeah.
and the setting.
Oh, props to that sound design.
Yeah.
Amazing. And sound design in Slenderman. The sound, I think finding sound design in horror games makes or breaks them.
Yeah.
Mm.
So Soma, if you're unaware, is a first-person horror game by the people that did Amnesia.
Yeah. Which I has only ever been released on PC.
Yeah, I
so
think
I've
so.
not played it, but I will do.
Yeah, we need to get a better PC at some point, and then we'll play it.
We do.
So it's not a spoiler to say that you are, it's in the trailers, you're on a sci-fi looking underwater base, and you don't really know why, and there's weird AI stuff going on.
Yeah.
That's kind of the premise. It's very dark, lots of clankings and drippings and creakings and weird noises, and that's all brilliant, and the interactions that you have with the AI stuff are all brilliant, and I just get really frustrated by the monsters rather than scared. I get a bit scared by them, and then eventually I get frustrated by them, and that frustration stops them being scary and just makes it annoying to play.
Yeah.
Takes the fun out of it. For me.
Yeah, I think... I'm trying to remember if combat's really involved in Soma, because I am still playing it. I can't remember.
I certainly didn't get any combat type
if
stuff.
there is combat, it's so minimal that it doesn't stand out. But it's funny, I think a lot of games that are considered horror games, and even are good and respected games, for me, just tip over into really stressful action games.
Yeah, that line between fear and stress.
Yeah.
Is,
and that's
fun.
why I can't get on with, oh god, what's the one that's mining on Mars and he plays Isaac?
Oh, Dead Space.
Dead Space. I can't get on with Dead Space. I fully appreciate it, and I know a lot of people really rave about it. But for me, it was just a stressful game. It wasn't a horror game. And that's one of the things Slenderman does so well, is you can't fight back. You just have to survive.
Yeah.
I think Soma gets a little bit too close to tipping into it's just stressful. But the thing that always pulls it back for me is the narrative, the story.
Yeah, that's it. I'm really enjoying the story.
Yeah.
And yeah. I don't know.
Really good story. good voice acting. There's some... I feel like the actors are given such tall orders, such ridiculously massive, improbable things to try to discuss, although the things they discuss are well written, that it's no wonder the voice acting can be a little bit flat at times.
I did find with the early bit that I did manage to survive through somehow.
Yeah.
Again, it's not really a spoiler to say so. The main character is not expecting to be where he is, and bearing that in mind and how weird where he is in mind, his reaction to it is, he takes it fairly well in his stride.
Yeah.
I think.
It's that thing about old shoe leather, isn't it? You can't chew old shoe leather. You need to just swallow and get on with it. So at some point, in any narrative, your characters have to just accept this and move on. But how believably they accept it is the hard part in writing.
I don't think I ever realised that's what the old shoe leather phrase meant. In my head, it was always... I thought it was about you had to walk really fast, so you were going to wear out your shoe leather.
I don't know, I might have made it up. Who knows?
I don't know.
I have it in my head as true. Maybe I'm just thinking of the Charlie Chaplin bit where he eats the shoe because there's nothing else to eat.
Tasty.
Licorice-flavoured shoes.
I've not played, but I think you've played the new... There's a demo for Resident Evil 7 out?
Yeah, well...
How scared will I be of that?
Very, but it's short.
Okay.
I wish I could get my hands on PT, but I can't because consoles that have PT downloaded to them are literally selling for thousands of pounds. So I can't get my hands on PT. But I think my suspicion, now I'm not up on Resi News, but my suspicion is that they released PT, it was amazing, created a lot of hype. They went on to develop it and then thought, no, actually, we can't make this game for whatever reasons. We don't want to. It doesn't support a whole storyline. Let's withdraw it and create another demo which is closer to what we will do. And that demo, we have Resi 7.
Well, I read about that because people have been talking about that and it going first person where I think the other ones haven't been, or...
Oh,
whatever.
What Resident Evil 7's first person?
Is it in the demo?
The demo's first person, yeah. But PT was first person as well.
Yeah, that's it. But apparently it was being developed before PT was being developed.
Right.
So and that was the intention of the off. I mean, they might just be saying that because they don't want to say, yeah, everyone loves PT and no one's going to make that, so we're going to make it instead. Way. But it seems from what I've read that it's coincidence as opposed to inspiration from PT. That's made.
I thought PT was a demo for Resident Evil
7. No. PT was a demo for Silent Hill. Silent Hill game.
What's happening with Silent Hill?
Nothing. Got cancelled.
Oh.
Yep.
Oh. I've always got Silent Hill and Resident Evil confused, and I'll tell you why. It's because to me they both tip over into stressful games. Yeah. I have played Resident Evil. I played Silent Hill 1 and thought it was really good, but that was a long time ago. I haven't played it since. But I don't think of it as one of the great horror games. I know technically it is. I think of it as one of the great stress games. And I played Resident Evil 5, the one with Leon. First one with Leon, because I think he turns up again, which was good. Really enjoyed it. I played that.
Big on the Wii.
Yeah, that's the one I played on the Wii. I think
that was Resident Evil 4.
Is it 4?
I think so.
The one with Leon.
Could be wrong.
Played it on the Wii. Really enjoyed it as a wacky shooting experience, because of course you get to actually point the Wii, and it turns out I'm really quite good when you get to actually point things at the screen. Fantastic. So I enjoyed that, but I never got caught up in the whole series. So
how was your aim in VR, out of interest? Did that...
I couldn't tell. It felt fine.
Okay.
I would expect it to be better than with just a regular controller. I don't know.
So I distracted you from talking about horror games this one, didn't it?
I think with VR I am prone to motion sickness, and VR didn't specifically, that game Farpoint didn't specifically make me motion sick, except when I was trying to stand still and pick things up. And that's where my brain got really confused.
How weird.
Yeah, because I don't know. moving my arms didn't quite match what the character was doing, and that was just too much information for me.
Okay.
So shooting in VR didn't feel as natural as it did in like a Wii shooter or laser tag that I did once. So yeah, that's why I've completely mishmashed PT and Silent Hill and Resident Evil.
Yeah.
So the demo for Resident Evil 7 was really good. I think because it is so short, it's absolutely worth having a playthrough. If it were a whole game, 10, 20 hours of that, I don't know. I was on the defensive the whole time, so it didn't really tip over into stressful games.
Okay.
But it didn't do anything original. In the way that I think Slender Man really brought some new iconography to the genre.
Okay.
I felt like the Resident Evil 7 demo, SE7, was just quite predictable. And there was even one point, I played it with headphones in, and I don't remember if you remember me shouting at the screen going, I know it's going to happen, yep, it's going to be there, oh, I didn't see that coming. Yeah, I kind of did, actually. So that just kind of sums up the whole game.
Yeah. Well, I might. I've not really done any streaming before, but I might make that my debut streaming. I might try and stream me playing Resident Evil 7 demo and see how that goes over on our YouTube channel, whatever that may be. I'm pretty sure it's youtube.com/The Conversation Tree or The Conversation Tree Podcast. We'll find out. I'll stick a link in the blog.
You know what Soma reminded me of? To Soma's credit, was Alien Isolation. Did you get that?
Yes, I did, yeah.
I didn't get on with Alien Isolation. I so wanted to.
Yeah, I got further in Alien Isolation. I got really far in it.
You did, yeah.
But I do...
I wonder if you do better at stress games than horror games, and I do better at horror games than stress games. Because you got fairly far through Alien Isolation.
Yeah, I did. I was playing it like an inside a cupboard simulator, basically. That was my life, hiding inside cupboards on the... No, not Nostromo, whatever it was called, the space station.
I don't know what it was called.
A whistle-stop tour of cupboard interiors, circa 2155, or whenever the hell it's set.
I saw underneath quite a lot of desks. That's my dominant memory of the space station.
They vacuum it well?
There wasn't a single piece of gum.
Ah, nice.
And I was under there for so long I could have used a distraction.
Oh, yeah, maybe the future is all bright and rosy in that case. Never mind the alien killing machines strolling around. They don't stick gum under desks.
For me, Alien Isolation just really went downhill the more weapons you got.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, you've worn out, you're welcome now. I get it. I'm going to be more stressed about ammo than I am monsters for the rest of this game. Yeah. What else you got?
Yeah, there was a clear moment, I think about halfway through the runtime, kind of looked up how long it is, and this happened out then, where it built up to a big confrontation with the alien in a fairly iconic situation, reminiscent of the first film, and then the game didn't end, and it carried on. And there was a sort of new-ish villain to contend
much
with
like
as well.
The franchise.
Yes, it absolutely will not stop ever until you are dead. Different franchise, but yeah.
If it bleeds, keep making more movies. How many, what the hell is it called? Predator movies are there?
I think there are 3. Predator 2.
Oh, we're due!
And, plus the Alien versus Predator ones.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
We're due. Do you reckon they'll make a new Predator, or just rehash it from the beginning?
Those kinds of films, like Terminator, Alien, Predator, they've been quite resistant to the reboot thing so far.
I guess they have. Alien's slightly less resistant. Yeah, Terminator.
Well, you didn't see the most recent one. That sort of kind of tried to reboot the timeline, but I guess with time travel it's easier to do that and still keep it sort of in canon with the other films.
Was the new one a reboot?
Well, I don't know, kind of, maybe. I don't know.
No, I'm just
not
thinking.
Worth considering it.
I'm just thinking about the original 2 or 3, depending on which film we're talking about, being so classic that even though more things get tacked onto it, they just kind of slough off.
Yeah.
Indiana Jones did that as well. Yeah, there's a fourth one. Yeah, everyone saw it. Yeah, it was pants. But there's 3 Indiana Jones films. Come on. Well, 2 if we're being strict.
Yeah, 2 and a bit.
2 in that other one. And yeah, kind of, I feel like Alien series kind of did that. Yeah, there's some new ones, but...
Yeah.
Terminator films did that.
Yeah.
Never really got into Predator, actually.
No, I've seen both. Well, Predator and Predator 2. I didn't see Predators, the Robert Rodriguez one. Although I sometimes quite like Robert Rodriguez films, so you'd think I would have seen it. But yeah, I don't know quite well. And Adrian Brody, I think, is in it as well.
Oh, that sounds familiar.
Yeah.
He's in the weirdest shit.
Yeah, he is. Yeah,
he's always good.
Yeah,
he's always good. He's kind of like what Nicolas Cage should be.
Yeah, I think I see what you mean. Although I don't want to deprive the world of Nicolas Cage, so that would be a dark world indeed.
No, I just don't get Adrian Brody's choice of films, but he always delivers. He's always charismatic. He's always believable.
Yeah. Before we get too far into films...
Oh, yeah. Should back up.
Yeah, I've got a couple more games I'd like to talk about just briefly. Hitman.
Oh, well, talking of horror games...
Oh, have you got a segue for this?
Do you not know my segue?
I don't know your segue.
I love my segue. So, I have a theory that Hitman is a monster horror game where you play as the monster.
Whoa!
Oh, mind blown! Because, like, every scenario you encounter with Hitman is a case of everyone else, like all the kids in the cabin, saying, "I'll be right back," and then Hitman's outside and hides their body in a dumpster. Yeah. So you play as the monster.
That is quite nice.
There you go. That's my segue.
Oh, yeah.
Over to you.
Right, move if you are. Oh, no, I did have things to say about it as well. Yeah, I haven't played any of the other Hitman games. Oh, that would have been a good segue as well, talking about franchises with multiple entries. Segue into Hitman, where I'm playing the most recent entry.
Oh, yeah, and there's, 2 films now? Neither of which I've seen.
Oh, yeah, there are. Yeah. With 2 different Hitmen.
2 different Hitmans.
But the real Hitman, as far as I'm concerned, is Hitman 2016, with no subtitle, making it incredibly hard to Google things about it when you're...
It so is.
Not that I've been Googling walkthroughs, honest. But it's... What I found quite interesting about it is that you can kind of get out of it what you put into it.
Yeah.
For example, the most recent Elusive Target. I think there's a new one out now, which actually might play through this week, and again might stick a video of that up on YouTube as well. So if you're into Hitman, or you're intrigued by Hitman and want to see me kill or attempt to kill Gary Busey, then have a look at the YouTube channel later in the week.
Gary Busey, I'll be right back.
They put it to the vote who it was going to be, either Gary Busey or Gary Cole. Gary Cole from Office Space and many other things. You'd know him if you saw him.
Okay.
He's a great fun actor.
Okay.
But for some reason, people want to kill Gary Busey, not Gary Cole. Maybe they prefer Gary Cole's acting. So very weird. Anyway, but the Elusive Targets are these kind of one-off for 72 hours. I think there's a new target in a map that you have to track down and take out, and you can do it by any means you want, but you only have 72 hours, and if you fail, that's it. You can't retry it ever. So the one at the moment the one that I just recently played were 2 twins, a pair of twins, and you had to kill just one of them. They're identical twins. One of them was wearing a watch, which is not an easy thing to spot in this kind of game. It's a third-person game, so you're quite far back from the action.
They have long sleeves and jackets.
Yeah, long sleeves and jackets, and one of them's wearing a watch.
That's it. That's the best that, like, international Hitman AAA Academy can do, is one of them has a watch. Go.
Yeah. But so when I did it, I'd played that map quite a few times. There's an episodic structure for this version of Hitman where they're releasing a new map every month or 2. And there'll be the one main challenge and then lots of little challenges to do, different targets, different ways of killing particular targets, that kind of thing. So I'd played this map a fair bit, so I didn't quite know it like the back of my hand, but, I knew it fairly well. And so it was quite easy when the twins got to a certain point in the map and I'd worked out which one it was. I could kind of hide around a corner, snipe him with a pistol, and I was very close to an exit, so I legged it for it. However, when you played it,
Ooh.
you hadn't done that map at all.
No.
So had no idea kind of what the exits were, what the layout was, even where they were going to be.
I spent most of the time wandering around the big palacey thing, because I just assumed that was where they were.
Yeah.
Spoilers, they're not.
Well, they can't play it now, so no spoilers.
Are those characters gone as well?
Yeah.
They're not. They don't even appear up in the chapter as like
No,
when you play through the storyline.
No.
Oh.
So yeah, you kind of are the difficulty curve in a way.
Yeah, that's true.
There are these escalation missions which add extra complications, so they have their own difficulty curve. But for things like the main targets in the kind of plot of the game, if you like, and these elusive targets, they can be fairly easy. It's not too difficult to achieve the main missions in them, and the elusive targets, the ones that I've done, there's one that I didn't manage because I panicked at the last minute, but the two that I've done, they've not been too bad, but I've done them in really easy ways, and dare I say, relatively boring ways. So there
is undue pressure on Hitman to try to find a wacky way to do it.
There is, but
which makes it much harder than it might be, which is brilliant. That's half the fun, but it's also a little bit cheeky.
Yes, yeah. But it's just that's very interesting that you kind of like everyone says about hobbies and pastimes and school, you'll get out of it what you put into it, that kind of thing. Well, Hitman is a prime example. If there are any parents who are struggling to get their kids to understand that you get out of it what you put into it, give them Hitman and get them to kill a load of people in increasingly violent and silly ways, and your child will learn a valuable life lesson.
That's puzzle solving.
Yeah, that's it. See, game's educational.
Absolutely. Creating a safe space to kill people in.
Yes, absolutely. The other thing about Hitman, I'm really enjoying it. I didn't think it would be my kind of thing. I'd seen some people playing it on YouTube, and it looked quite fun. I was convinced it wouldn't be my kind of thing. I'm not normally that big on stealth games, but eventually they made it look so much fun that I had to try. And yeah, it is absolutely brilliant. And it's very, going back to what we've already discussed a bit about games being similar to theatre, it's very like an immersive theatrical experience where I was lucky enough to go to a Punch Drunk show last year, maybe the year before, and there's all kinds of things going on in a disused building that Punch Drunk have made look really interesting, and you're going through it as a punter wearing a mask, and there are various actors wandering around who they'll be on a bit of a loop, so they'll do the same thing about 3 times over the course of 2-3 hours that you're in this building for. And you can kind of follow them, and maybe they'll split off and you follow one of them and they meet up with someone else, so you get a sense of this character and their relationships, and you find out what's going on in the play, in the drama, by kind of following people and listening out to various different snippets. And then the next time those two characters come together, you can follow the other one, but the initial dialogue would repeat. And Hitman's very much like that. People are on a loop, and you follow them, work out what their path is, what they're talking about, who they interact with. If you make something out of the ordinary in their path, they might do something different, which might have a knock-on effect, and you can exploit that for murderous gain. But yeah, so it kind of is very theatrical in that way. So it's very strange that film is often referenced as being really close to games, and everyone's really keen to get film adaptations of games out, when I think theatre is what they should be aiming for. Yeah,
I completely agree. It just makes more sense. I mean, there's so many ways that you can play a game, in a sense, if you are kind of fly on the wall, if you're playing as a particular character, such as Dragon Age Inquisition, where you are a person, you exist in that world, you are making big, bold decisions that will affect that world, or if you're the Master Chief and you're just kind of trying to kill as much stuff as you can get through. But all of that is interactive, and some games really play up the sensation of being able to change the outcome, some not so much. But even so, you feel like you're involved in that world. And it's a bit ridiculous that we think it needs to transition to film, which is completely static in a sense, as opposed to theatre. Interactive theatre, I suppose, because traditional theatre is quite close to film.
Yeah. Even the pre-launch of Hitman kind of tied in with theatre, because they took prominent YouTubers and games journalists out to a weird location and got them to instruct a real-life mock-up of a Hitman game, where they were watching on screens as a real person wandered through this building that had been set up kind of like a Hitman set and instructed him on what to do. Kind of like the TV show Nightmare, for anyone who remembers that. So yeah, kind of it was theatrical from the off. There's only one more game I'm going to mention before I realise we've been waffling for a while and still haven't even got to some of the things we're going to talk about.
Oh, pshaw. Pshaw! That's the word from Clueless. Pshaw.
Well, that was, people were using that specifically in...
Yeah, Pshaw was really specific to an area in Southern California, like Orange County, or one of the posh areas. And I can't even remember what it means. It means I don't care. And like no one understood. People from that area didn't understand how this international film, film distributed internationally, knew the word Pshaw because they had teenage spies on campus.
Well, that's brilliant.
Pshaw. Oh wow, funny.
Yeah. So the only other game that I'll mention for now, I think, in this episode at any rate, is Southernrail Tycoon. Depending on where you are listening to this, you may or may not be aware that Southernrail, who run the trains in part of the southeast of England, really doing a very bad job of it at the moment.
Run the trains is a bit generous.
Yeah, well, you're better off running than taking the train. So maybe it works from that level. But someone at a company called Ramjam has made Southernrail Tycoon. It's one of those kind of simulator games where you have to stop any trains from departing the station. The aim of the game is to make sure no trains leave and you fail if a single train leaves, while at the same time you have to click on people to make money out of them and click on drivers to make sure that they get dissuaded from going onto the train in the first place.
Brilliant.
Which is a very nice little use of games as a critique.
Yeah.
It kind of made me...
Social commentary.
Yeah. Think about what other tycoon games you could play. Like going a very long time ago, I trained and worked as an actor, mainly worked in fringe theatre, and thought that doing a theatrical tycoon to keep our theatre theme, I suppose, going. Theatrical tycoon would be a good one, where you start out maybe in Amdram or in fringe theatre, and the moment in the game where you make £1 profit is the moment you win. The moment when you're able to pay all the actors and you make a profit is the moment where you win the game.
Never gonna. It's a bit like Stanley Parable, where it just doesn't happen. The whole thing's just a meta commentary on how improbable your situation is. Yeah,
it's a never-ending descent into theatricality.
Brexit Tycoon would be interesting. So you start the game with a selection of world-changing decisions, and then you play as a series of politicians, and your goal is to have nothing to do with the decision you implicated. And as soon as you get your hands dirty, as soon as you actually attempt to solve something, you lose.
Yeah, that would be brilliant. Yeah, I think that's me done game-wise. Anything else that you wanted to talk about?
Game-wise?
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you if you thought Fragments of Him felt like interactive theatre, but maybe we could come back to that next time.
Yeah.
You could play it a bit more.
Yeah, I only played the brief demo, so maybe when I've played through a little bit more of it.
One we'll mull over.
Yeah.
Should we talk about films?
I think that's not a terrible idea.
Yeah?
Yeah, let's do it.
We could plan to talk about films and then never go through with any of our intentions because we're terrible writers. Such as Maggie's plan.
What a brilliant segue.
Thank you.
My word.
I know. I was up all night.
Is it hot in here or is it just me?
Yeesh, I say. Oh, it looked good. It looked funny from the trailers. It really did. It looked like it was going to be kind of a romantic farce set in hipster New York about a woman, I don't know, 20-something, 30-something, who falls in love with a married man, and it's all very illiterati and highbrow and hipster. Falls in love with a married man, he falls in love with her, leaves his wife for her, and then she, Maggie, decides she doesn't love him anymore, but he's such an interesting guy, it would be a waste if he's not in a relationship, so she goes about trying to get him back with his first wife. That's what I thought it was about. I still think that sounds like a really good film. Maybe we can have that, please.
It rubbed me up the wrong way.
I don't remember seeing you quite as miserable sitting through a film as you were in that one.
Because we were doing a double bill. There was no point in walking out.
I know.
It was the saddest thing.
Trapped.
And I was out of mobile phone data as well, so it wasn't like I could just go out and sit on Facebook or something that. But yeah, it was what rubbed me up most about it was that it's called Maggie's Plan, and we were constantly told that she was a planner and she was obsessively organised about everything, and I did not see one single instance of that in what was shown. We were just told it repeatedly, and I didn't really see that at any point.
No.
It's kind of the age-old telling versus showing debate. Just let us see it. Don't just tell us it and not show us it.
Yeah. Some serious character development fails compared to some of the video games we were talking about, where if a video game, something like Fragments of Him, if it starts off telling you what the character's like, by gum, it spends the rest of the game with the character doing that.
Yeah.
I don't know what was up with Maggie's Plan. It just wasn't the film it thought it was. Which was silly.
Yeah. I had an opposite experience recently. So I've been doing something called the Chain Reaction Film Club with a chum of mine, Tim, where we started, for no particular reason, with the film Chain Reaction from the mid-90s with Keanu Reeves and Rachel Weisz. Keanu Reeves was a scientist, you know.
Of course. It's ironic casting.
Yeah. And since then, when we meet up, we pick an actor that was in the previous film and take it in turns to choose the next film. So we're kind of leapfrogging. So far, we've done what's it been? It's been Chain Reaction into The Fugitive, into The Net, into Mud. So we were stuck in kind of a 90s hell for a while. Although, The Fugitive is very, very good still.
I don't care.
Tommy Lee Jones. But yeah, just recently overcame that with Mud from 2012, I think that was. Yeah, it's written and directed by Jeff Nichols, who most recently made the kind of quite Spielbergian Midnight Special.
Oh yeah, that's good.
And I think Spielberg was a clear influence on Mud as well.
Oh really?
Yeah. It starts off almost like you're going into Stand By Me territory. These two young kids, they actually live kind of out in kind of swampy, rivery kind of area, and they go on this voyage. One of them has a boat that they kind of take out when their dad isn't looking, and they go to this island where there's a boat halfway up a tree, and it's going to be their boat and their adventure place, and it's got that kind of, this is going to be their summer coming of age kind of feel. But there's a weird guy who lives in the boat, it turns out, and played by Matthew McConaughey, who he does get his shirt off in the film, don't worry. What a hunk. So they end up getting involved with this weird character called Mud, and his plan that he's got for winning back the love of his life. And
while living in a boat in a tree.
Yeah, exactly.
He's off to a good start.
Doesn't have enough money for food, does have enough for cigarettes, it seems.
Oh, right.
Which is a bit weird.
How did it compare to Kings of Summer?
That's another kind of going for that Stand By Me kind of coming of age thing. Better, because it had more to say. There was a line,
okay.
it doesn't go... While that is going on, there is this coming-of-age stuff. I don't think that's as much the thrust of it as other things. There's a moment early on where the two main boys, there's one who kind of looks a bit like a smushed River Phoenix in Stand By Me. He's got that kind of short buzz cut hair.
Pig nose.
That kind of thing going on. And I thought for all the world, one, he was probably going to be the main kid, and two, he was going to be kind of the troublemaker that was he was going to be taking all the risks, whereas his other slightly more sensible looking, slightly floppy haired, Spielberg main character kid would be the voice of reason. Not at all. I quite liked how that was subverted.
Oh, okay.
I reckon that was intentional. I don't know. The kind of sensible looking one was the one taking all the risks, and the kind of slightly skeevy looking one was the one who kept saying, "I'm not really sure we should. I don't know if that's a good idea." So that was quite a nice little thing. But there was a line in it. This kind of River Phoenix looking kid. He lost his parents at a young age. He's living with his uncle, played by Michael Shannon, who's the lead in Midnight Special.
Oh, he's the uncle.
Yeah.
I was convinced poor Michael Shannon would either be, how did I say, an emotionally broken truck driver just passing through, or an emotionally broken sheriff who's trying to do the right job and get his life back on track.
No, he's kind of a slightly stoner, well-meaning uncle who's not setting a good example for the kid he's looking after.
No, Michael Shannon would never set a good example.
No, that's true.
That's just something... You don't hire Michael Shannon if you need a good example.
Yeah. But anyway, he has a lady round, and the two kids are sitting on the front stoop as the sex song is playing. And then the lady comes out in a huff, annoyed at something Michael Shannon's character has done, and says something... she has this line to these kids: when you grow up, make sure you treat a woman like a princess.
Ugh.
Yeah, and I think what the film did nicely was kind of showing why that's a bad idea. It had the kind of male characters were all these, maybe not all slightly inarticulate, but kind of inarticulate, heroic do-gooders in their own heads. That's what they were.
Oh, right. The great American hero.
Yeah, kind of stoic and strong but silent.
John Wayne.
Yeah, that kind of thing. And the film was, I think, looking at why that's not, showing that that's not the way to do it. What was a shame is that there are two very good actresses in it, Reese Witherspoon and Sarah Paulson.
Oh, fantastic cast. I've kind of warmed to Reese Witherspoon over the years because she's made some interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Sarah Paulson's just always brilliant.
Yeah. And yeah, I thought the film might have done a better job of what I think it was trying to say, if they'd had slightly more to do.
Yeah.
They didn't actually have that much to do.
That's often the case.
Yeah. I think it was trying to specifically tell the male side of it, but a lot of films try to tell the male side of these things.
That's true, yeah. Not in the minority.
Yeah, but it was good. I did enjoy it. I haven't, up till recently, I haven't been a big Matthew McConaughey fan. I don't know whether he just went through a phase of not making films I was interested in, or...
He had a Matthew McConaughey.
Yes, he did.
Yes, he did. You got on board.
Yeah, absolutely. Although I tried to watch Dallas Buyers Club when I was ill, and that was a terrible, terrible idea. I need to finish that off at some point. Yeah.
Aww.
I don't actually know what the next chain reaction film is going to be. It's my choice, so I've narrowed it down to The Pelican Brief, Interstellar, which I've seen before, and Tim has seen before.
The Christopher Nolan?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Yeah. Starring Matthew McConaughey.
Oh,
you see how this works.
I do, I get the idea.
Yeah, Pelican Brief I've never seen.
Who's in Pelican Brief?
Sam Shepard.
Who's Sam? What else is Sam Shepard?
Oh, sorry. From Mud, Sam Shepard is the actor that links Mud with The Pelican Brief.
Oh,
Pelican Brief is that Julia Roberts and Denzel Washington?
Oh, is it Julia Roberts? Oh, yeah.
Okay. So yeah, it's between Pelican Brief, Interstellar, Contact, again another Matthew McConaughey link, which I've only watched the beginning of.
Should have sent a poet. I'm done.
Better not be a spoiler.
Yeah, it might have been a little bit.
Or
Pensacola. No, that's early on.
Okay. Or 99 Homes from last year with Andrew Garfield and Michael Shannon. So I've narrowed it down to those four. If you've got a suggestion for what I should go for next, maybe email or tweet and let me know.
Yeah,
I'll be sure to take it under advisement.
So what's the suggestion criteria? It's actors from Mud.
Yep, an actor that's in Mud and has a speaking role in another film. So I want to get to some other film with an actor that was in Mud.
I do remember seeing Pelican Brief, and liking it at the time, but I think, like The Net, it would probably be a bit pants these days.
Yeah, it got referenced quite a lot at the time, and I never saw it, and then it kept getting used as an example a few years ago for something, I can't remember what, so it always made me think it's a bit of a, not like a classic gap in my knowledge, but a bit of a gap. But having just got out of the 90s dungeon, I don't know that I want to get straight back in it.
Yeah. I do see in our notes here that The Net, which you watched, right? You did see The Net.
Yeah.
Was directed by Irwin Winkler,
which
is a terrible name anyway. Do you think he's any relation to the Fawns?
I meant to look that up, actually, and find out.
It's not that common a name.
No, I've never met a Winkler. But yeah, no, it could be. I would not recommend the film The Net. Let's put it that way. That was my choice. So I need to pick a good film for Tim to forgive me for it, basically.
Yeah, you need some viewer advisement, clearly.
Absolutely. Well,
I have a question for viewers as well. So I got I got several tattoos the other day, based on some of my favourite children's books, and I'm thinking I definitely need more, and I'm thinking of tattoos from Dragon Age Inquisition and or Fable.
Oh, Fable. See, that's it. If I were to get a tattoo, I think a Fable tattoo would go down a treat. I just haven't been able to quite find the right image.
No, I don't know which one. Maybe one of the demon doors, but I don't know that I just want a face on me.
Yeah.
Other than the one I was born with. So yeah, I'm wondering if any listeners have suggestions, and even more to the point, I'm wondering if they have games-related tattoos and why they picked them and how they picked them. Did they go for concept artwork? Did they go for a still from the game? There's a lot of options. Very visual medium.
Yeah. And also, if you have had a gaming-related tattoo and a sequel to said game has come out, has that affected your opinion of your tattoo in any way, shape or form? I'm just thinking about Fable. If I got a Fable 2 tattoo, I would still be happy as Larry. Going back to an earlier conversation, that's my favourite game of all time.
Well, now I don't need to talk to you next time.
Indeed. But yeah, even with everything that's happened, sadly, to Lionhead since then,
my gosh.
That wouldn't have hasn't diminished my enjoyment of Fable 2 at all, and wouldn't have diminished my love of said tattoo, hypothetically. But yeah, I just wondering if anyone has rethought it, or if that has put it in a different context in any way. Yeah.
Interesting. So you can write in to, you can email us at theconversationtree@gmail.com.
Yes, indeed. Or hit us up on Twitter at theconvotree.
Yeah. And for this episode, links to our individual blogs, or just get in touch on our website. You can go to theconversationtreepodcast.wordpress.com. And if you go there, you'll also find a link to iTunes where you'll be able to download this, because I'm sure you'll want to listen to it so many times.
Yay! Yes, you can find us on iTunes and also Stitcher, and probably some more places soon, but that's where we're up at the moment. And I'm going to be hopefully streaming or putting up some kind of video content for the Resident Evil 7 demo. Me playing through that.
I want to see that.
Like a little scaredy cat.
Little scaredy girl.
And
well, I'm a girl and I'm pretty roughy tufty. So.
Yeah, much more roughy tufty than me.
Apparently, I just have a tattoo anecdote. So she tattooed me up and it was really sore and bloody. And she said, I'm not going to use an alcohol wipe to get off the carbon mark that she did so she know where to tattoo. Because I had a guy in the other day and I put alcohol on him and I made him cry. And then a bit later, she was going to take photos, and she said, I can't take photo because there's too much carbon mark and it's going to ruin it. And I said, you know what? Let's try the alcohol wipe. Literally didn't feel a thing. Hardcore.
Had you drunk the other alcohol?
You know me so well.
Yeah. So yeah, we're also hopefully going to put up something, maybe both of us attempting the Hitman Elusive Target, take out Gary Busey, and see how
He'll
that goes.
be right back.
Yeah.
I have a gag and I'm sticking with it. And so yeah, this will all be coming up in the next couple of weeks, and we'll have a new podcast for you on Sunday the 7th of August, where we might talk about comedy in games, and we might look at violence in video games, because there are some really interestingly bad studies done on that. And I have a theory that the bad studies are doing more harm than good.
So between now and then, I need to play a lot of violent games and a lot of funny games. That sounds good to me. Yeah, hope you've enjoyed this. We've run slightly longer than we intended, just over the 2-hour mark, so that's quite exciting. So we'll see how that goes and see how long it is next time. We'll probably aim for about the 1.5 hour mark.
I suppose if you skip our Brothers spoilers, that probably gets it down to about 1.5 hours.
That's true. Hope you've enjoyed listening to this. This has been the very first episode of the Conversation Tree podcast. I'm Jonathan.
I'm Lydia.
And thanks for listening.
I'm waving. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Video games cause the apocalypse.